In this podcast of Journey of the Stone, we talk about one of the fastest growing, one of the most amazing, interesting, and actually catching the world by storm gemstones, Spinel. When I started in the industry over 30 odd years ago, Spinel was known as the imposter stone because if you look historically at Spinel, it is what has been confused as ruby for hundreds and hundreds of years. If you look at the royal jewels in the British crown jewels, you'll see that the Black Prince's ruby is actually a Spinel. And this particular situation was dated back to the period of Marco Polo, back in the Balas mines, which produced some of the most important varieties of Spinel ever discovered. And if you look back in the Marco Polo scriptures, he refers to Spinel, but Spinel didn't really catch on until much later. I mean, literally about 15, 20 years ago that the prices started to elevate, soar, and break records at auction. So this is a gem that has caught the world by storm. It originated originally in the collector market, and now it has gone on into the other enthusiasts and jewelry lovers and wearers market due to the ability to disperse light. So let me give you a little bit of background on the most important discoveries of Spinel and where those locations are. The first and most important discovery of Spinel was always the Magok deposit. The Magok stone track in Burma is always been known as the predominant finest supplier of red spinel in the world. It also produces the world's most important rubies that have sold for over $1 million a carat. Spinels from this particular deposit are remarkable. They are pure red, they're pigeon blood, very similar to their ruby counterparts, and for hundreds of years have been confused as ruby, but they are a different mineral totally. They sparkle, they're vibrant, they're different, and they're also very, very uncommon. Let's flash forward to around 10 years forward. So this is about 15, 20 years ago. Here we are. I'm in Burma in a place called Namya. Now, what's interesting about Namya is it started producing some rubies coming out of that area in the Burma location, but it started producing these stones that were neon. I mean, neon. Like nobody had ever seen a gem that looks like this. You could put them in the dark and they glowed. They were remarkable. And they were perfect like double pyramid sided. They looked like pyramids on top of each other with the bottoms connected. They were the perfect crystal, but they glowed. They were neon. And this became to be known as the Jedi Spinel. The Jedi Spinel from Nam Ya will blow your head off. And that set the world trajectile on madness. Vincent Perdue from the GIA, when he went there, he's the one who actually coined the phrase Jedi, because at that time they had some Star Wars movie out or something of the sort, and it was like, don't go to the dark side, Luke. And Jedi Spinels were anything but dark. They popped, they were electric, they were live, they were vibrant, and they really will blow your head off. The colors are remarkable. And I watched these gems in Burma soar to 5 digits per carat in the rough form because they glow. They surpass the price of a lot of unheated rubies out there. I'd never seen anything like this. A Spinel competing with an unheated natural ruby, which is one of the most expensive gems in the world when it comes to, collectability. And here came Namya Spinel. And the prices soared and soared and soared and soared. And then, of course, as everything happens in the world supply, especially in gemstones, because gemstones are finite, it started to deplete. And when the mine started to deplete, prices continued to soar because there was no supply. Then flash forward about another 5 years, and boom, we have a new discovery of Spinel that is found. Of course, it was also... Let's flash back. There was also some discoveries in Vietnam, but the Vietnam material tended to be more red-orange, very similar to the material you'd see out of Magok. So we got some of this material up in the Lucian region of Vietnam, but it wasn't significant enough to really carry the weight. It looked more like a garnet. It was more like an orangey red, still very attractive, but it didn't have that neon Jedi characteristic. Then you get to Mahenke. Mahenke, Tanzanian Spinel, was the closest thing that could come to Namyao, the Burma material, the Magok material. This material took the world by storm, and because of the supply of it, and it was not a lot, but it was enough to grab the attention of the connoisseur market. And people just saw this gem and went crazy. You get Spinels now that sell for up to 50,000 a carat in large sizes, and it's crazy. The demand is huge, and there is just nothing out there. Right now in the Mahenke region of Tanzania, there is no current Spinel mining, so we can forget about that. And Namya is pretty much depleted as well. But if you ever get your hands on a Jedi Spinel, you'll know exactly what I'm telling you, because you better be wearing your Ray-Ban sunglasses, because this gem pops. And what's really unique about it is you can take it in yellow light, incandescent light, LED light, candle light, doesn't matter what light, and it's going to pop. This is a rare variety. Okay, here I am up in Lucien, Vietnam. I'm buying some ruby because the Lucien Vietnamese ruby is pretty much similar to the Magok stone track. It grows in the marble host rock. And what do we find? We find this stone that looks like neon apatite. Nobody knows what it is. We think it's neon apatite, small little crystals, insignificant sizes, 10 point or 15 point, stuff like that. Don't really pay too much attention to it. Buy some of the rough, take it back to Thailand, off to, I'm doing a lot of business with Sri Lanka at this time as well. So I go to Sri Lanka, and one of the most rare things to find in Sri Lanka is known as the cobalt spinel. The cobalt spinel, it's much more rare than you find sapphire. It's literally, I can count on two hands the amount of cobalt spinels I've ever found that are gem top blue. They are not common. They're not easy to find. They're usually dark, and when you can get them in nice color, they are rare, right? A notable one, one of my biggest stones I've ever discovered, I think it's the current world record to ever come out of Sri Lanka, was a 25 karat flawless cobalt spinel. People say the largest in the world is 12 karat. No, it's 25 karat. Florence said it. It's sold to a Florence customer. It is one of the rarest cobalt spinels in the world. I'm sure if you look around, you'll find it somewhere online, right? But that stone was my biggest prize ever. That is a notable stone and something that will end up at auction at some point. Extremely rare to find, cobalt spinel, fully certified GIA, something like that is just uncommon. 2 carats uncommon, 3 carats rare, 5 carats crazy rare, 25 karat freak of nature. Not something unique. Then Vietnam, we go back. I come back to my office. I start poking out of this marble host rock, these blue stones, chipping them out. And then I put them, under the, refractometer. I check, all the different tests that we do as gemologists. And voila, we have discovered spinel in a color that we've never seen before. It looks like apatite. Problem? Small. So small, almost insignificant small, like 10 point, 20 point, right? Don't think too much about it. Put all this stuff in my warehouse with the rest of the gems I always put there. And then eventually, right, just watch the market go. These little stones are selling for 10, 15,000 a carat. 10, 15,000 a carat. I literally bought them for like $100 a carat. I didn't even buy it for 100. I think it was like, if you take out the market, probably worked out about $15, right? I didn't even think too much about it. I threw them in the closet right now. Thank goodness I still had them, right? So, the demand for spinels have just gone crazy. Crazy. Up. One of the fastest growing in-demand price points in the world, because the world has just fell in love with this stone. They understand it better. They know it. And, knowledge is power, and that basically is the way it works, right? But spinel is one to keep your eye on. If you like a red stone that'll blow your head off, the Namya variety of spinel, the Jedi variety, is some of the finest red gemstones in the world, hands down. It's 100% natural. It's the hand of Mother Nature. It is extremely rare and there is not a lot in circulation globally, and there is no active mining today. If you're looking for, blue spinels, you're either got to go after the cobalt coming out of Sri Lanka, or you want to go after, obviously the neon cobalt blue that comes out of Vietnam. Unfortunately, the Vietnam, if you're looking at a 3-carat size, you could be spending, 5 digits per carat easily all day long. The prices just are high for that in the collector world, because there is literally, I think, less than 15 stones in existence that surpass 2-carat. Very uncommon, not easy to find. But once again, keep your eye on the Spinel world, right? And you let's just see how this moves. But they've always been the imposter counterpart to the ruby and sapphire, confused for hundreds of years. And finally, they've got their own laneway, their own race. They're in the Olympics with the ruby and the sapphire. They have their own mineral type, and there's something to keep an eye on because they are beautiful, beautiful gem types.